Hello everybody, welcome into the Shadow Seeks Justice YouTube channel. I am the Shadow. I'd like to talk to you today about the Delphi, Indiana murder case of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, two young girls, 13 and 14 years old, that were middle schoolers who were abducted off of this bridge, off of the Monon High Trail Bridge on February 13th of 2017 in Delphi, Indiana, off of the Delphi Historic Trails, the Monon High Trail Bridge. I want to talk to you about the complicated crime scene there and the complicated crime scene of a serial killer, and I want to reference the Serial Murder Multidisciplinary Perspectives handbook for investigators that the FBI used. Now, in plain sight, and we know it's all about power and control. We have heard these words because it came out of the press briefing that Doug Carter gave, the superintendent of the Indiana State Police, who gave these words and spoke these phrases at the press conference. And these phrases, they reference a serial killer. Those phrases are specifically used in the FBI multidisciplinary handbook for serial killers. Those phrases are in that book. And the FBI specifically phrased that press conference and helped write and script the press conference for Superintendent Doug Carter to then give to the public. The hiding in plain sight references a serial killer, which is hiding in plain sight within the community in front of the public. And now the phrase used here, we know it's all about power and control to you. Power and control here tells us what type of serial killer that the bridge guy is. He is a power and control serial killer. And he is a sadistic, psychopathic killer who often hides in plain sight and is cool and unemotional in his demeanor. And he's combined with a keen intelligence and a charming personality. Now, the crime scene tells us things. It speaks to us and tells us things by what we see at a crime scene or a murder scene or a murder site. Now, a serial killer is also broken down into whether the serial killer was skilled or unskilled in the way he went about what he did at the crime scene. And the crime scene then tells us that by what we see at the crime scene, whether the killer was skilled or unskilled, organized or disorganized. And organized is skilled and disorganized is unskilled. Now, it's also important to note here that a serial murder crime case and crime scene, at the crime scene, there can be a mix of organized and disorganized crime scene evidence that is shown by the crime scene to investigators. Now, in this case, when there's organized and disorganized skills that are left at the crime scene, this occurs, for example, when there are multiple offenders of different personality types involved in the killing. So you can have organized and disorganized skill sets of a serial killer at a crime scene, and it can be a multiple offender, 2 or more offenders at a crime scene, which have different personality types involved in the killing. So 2 or more people involved with different personality types could be at the crime scene and involved in the murders. Also here, this occurs when a lone offender is undergoing a psychological transformation. Now, what do we know about the bridge guy? We know the bridge guy showed up at the bridge early in the day. We know he was prepared. He had what he needed with him to do the murders. The weapon to abduct them with, and the weapon to kill them with. So now, this tells us that the crime here was premeditated and planned. So that sets the skill set to he was skilled. Now, also, there was a lot of evidence left at the crime scene. Now, this tells us that he was also unskilled by leaving all this evidence behind at the crime scene. So now we know that there could be one serial killer at the crime scene, or there could be 2 or more serial killers at the crime scene of the Delphi, Indiana girls' murder of Liberty German and Abigail Williams.